Hello all, welcome to session 53 of CSharp.net training series. In this session, I am going to explain and practically demonstrate about method overriding. So let's get started. First of all, what is method overriding? What is method overriding? So what is method overriding? If we create, okay, the same method in parent and child classes. Okay, if we create the same method in parent and child classes, the method in child class is said to override the method in parent class. Okay, if we create the same method in parent and child classes, then that same method in the child class is said to override the method in the parent class. This is what is called as method overriding. Let me practically demonstrate this for you. Okay, the child class using the same method in the parent class is called method overriding. Okay, the same method in the child class is said to override the method in the parent class in simple words. So how to implement the method overriding? For that, let me create two classes: public class, class P. Let's say class P, I'm going to make that as a parent class. I'll going to create one more class, that is public class, class C. I'll say this is going to the child class. I'll make this class C a child class of class P. Okay, like this. Okay, this is a child class and this is a parent class. Now inside the parent class, I'll create a method public void some sample method I'll create. So here I'll copy paste the same method in the child class. Okay, if there is the same method in the child class which is there in the parent class, then the method in the child class is said to override the method in the parent class. So here I'll write inside sample method of class P. I'll copy paste this statement here, and here I'll paste it and say inside sample method of class C. Instead of P, I'll say C. Fine. Here guys, you see I'm getting a warning saying that I have to do something. Okay. So whenever you want to make this particular method override the method in the parent class, this particular method should take a permission from, okay, this particular class should take the permission from this class. How? Here, this particular method, okay. So as you can see here, permission to be taken from the parent class to override the methods in the child class. Okay. In order to override the methods from the parent class, okay, the permissions have to be taken from the parent class. How the parent class has to give the permission here? How this method in the parent class can give the permission to get it override in the child class? Here we have to mention a keyword known as virtual keyword. Okay, the moment the parent class mentions virtual keyword before a method means this particular method can be overridden by the child class. Okay, the methods which are specified as virtual by the parent class can be overridden in the child classes. This is the permission. For giving the permissions, we have to say virtual. And here, this particular method is now overriding this method in the parent class. To explicitly mention that this particular method is really overriding this method in the parent class, we have to write override here. Okay, we have to specify override here. You see the warning message is gone. Virtual keyword needs to be provided for the methods in the parent class which can be overridden by the child class. This is one thing. Method in the child class which is overriding method in parent class needs to be specified with override keyword. Okay, two keywords we have to mention. The one that is there in the parent class should be mentioned with virtual keyword so that the permission is now given for the child classes to override the methods. And now the method in the child class should be mentioned with the override keyword. Okay, then so here this method is now overriding the method in the parent class. Okay, done. Now in this kind of situations, if I create another class, public class, I'll just name the class as demo class. And inside this demo class, I'll create a main method, public svm. And inside this main method, I'll create an object for the child class. Okay, I'll create an object for the child class. Class C, CC is equal to new class C. Okay, class C, new C is equal to class C, CC is equal to new C, new CC, new class C. And here, using this object reference, using this CC dot, if I say sample, if I say CC dot sample, which method will be called? Using the object reference of the child class, if I call the sample method, which method will be called? The method that is there in the parent class will be called, or the method that will be there in the child class? Definitely the method should be in the child class. But here the problem is I'm using the object reference of the child class to access the sample method. But in this case, the problem is the child class is inheriting the parent class, right? That means this method will be inherited by the child class. At the same time, this particular class has the same method. There's a conflict, right? Sample method is inherited by the child class. At the same time, the same sample method is there in the child class. Whether the inherited method will be called, okay, the method that is inherited in the child class will be called here, or the method that is there in the child class itself will be called. Here guys, as part of overriding concept, the method in the child class is said to override the method in the parent class. That is, this is going to replace the method in the method inherited from the parent class. This method will not be inherited by the child class anymore, because this method is overriding the method in the parent class. Means this method will not be inherited. It will be overridden. It will be replaced by the child class method only. That's the reason when I create an object for the child class using the object reference, if I call the sample, it will call the method in the child class only. It will call the method in the child class only. That is, inside sample method of class C should be printed. If I run the code, the prompt will close. I have to add this console dot read line here. Okay, then it will stay. Run this code. You see, inside sample method of child class. Okay, class C, child class. Okay. So the overridden method is being called. The overridden method is being called instead of the method that is being inherited from the parent class to the child class. What if I want to use the same object reference to call the method in the parent class? How to do that? For that guys, to call the method in the, okay, I'll show you how to use the child class object reference to call the method in the parent class later. But for now, if I have to call the method in the parent class, okay, instead of calling this overridden method, if I have to call the method in the child class, what call the method in the parent class, what I have to do? I have to create an object for the parent class, right? Class P. If I have to call the method sample method in the parent class, I have to create an object for the class P. That is parent class. New class P. Like this, I have to create an object for the class P. And using the object reference of the parent class, if I say dot sample, here this time, this sample method only will be called. The parent class method will be called, because we are creating an object for the parent class, and using that object reference, we are calling the sample method. Means the method in the parent class only will be called inside sample method of class P, that is parent class. Is there any other way to call this method? So let me show you one more way, guys, to call the method in the parent class. I'll show you one more way. This time I'm going to use object reference of the child class. Okay, to call the method of the parent class, I'm going to use object reference of the child class. So here I'll create one more method, public void calling samples. Okay, calling samples method, some sample method. This is also, and from this method, if I say sample, if I call this sample, and here I'll create an object for the child class. Class C. CC is equal to new class C. If I say CC dot calling samples, which method will be called? I'm creating an object for the child class. This is the child class, okay, class C. And here I'm calling, using the object reference of the child class, I'm calling which method? Calling samples method. This is the method I'm calling. So this calling sample method is again calling sample method. Which method will be called? This method only will be called, right? The method that is there in the child class only will be called. This calling samples will call this sample method, okay? That is inside sample method of class C will be printed in the output. You see, inside sample method of class C. What if here instead of calling sample, I'll say base dot sample. I'll simply say base dot sample. In this case, what will happen? Instead of calling the method in the child class, this base dot sample, base means parent, right? Parent related sample you have to call. We are saying the parent class sample method will be called, okay? Instead of overridden method, the parent class sample method will be now called using this base keyword, okay? Same code I'll run. Class C, CC is called new class C. CC dot calling samples means this will call this one. Base dot sample will call the sample method in the parent class. This time you see, by using the object reference of the child class, I'm able to call the parent class method inside sample method of class B. Done. So this is all about method overriding, guys. Okay, it's all about method overriding. So that's all for this session. The next session, I'm going to cover another C#.NET topic for you. Till then, see you. Bye bye.